हाय फ्रेंड्स। आज का हमारा टॉपिक है जाम 2015 का कंप्लीट सॉल्यूशन विथ डिटेल्ड एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ द क्वेश्चन पेपर। सो विदाउट वेस्टिंग एनी मोर टाइम, लेट्स स्टार्ट। द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज which among the following planets has the highest number of known satellites? And the answer is Uranus. Here you can see a list of all the planets and the number of known satellites they have. Next question, identify the mineral which has specific gravity greater than 5 and hardness less than 3 and it gives a gray streak. And the answer is galena. You can see the hardness and specific gravity of all the minerals are given here. You can clearly see that the answer is galena, which has a hardness of 2 to 2.5 and specific gravity 7.6. Our next question is a unit which is semi-permeable and doesn't yield any significant quantity of groundwater is called, and the answer will be aquitad. Aquiclude contains a large amount of water in it, but it doesn't permit water through it. That means it is porous, but it has very low permeability. Whereas aquifer is a unit which is both porous and permeable. So an aquifer is a very good example of a reservoir rock. Next, if a unit is semi-porous and semi-permeable, then it is called aquitad. And lastly, artesian well is a well that receives water from confined aquifer beneath the ground. The next question is a sandstone with less than 15% matrix content is known as, and the answer will be arenite. You can clearly see from this figure, if a sandstone has a matrix content of 0 to 15%, then it is called arenite. If it has a matrix content of 15 to 75%, then it is called vaccae. And if it has a matrix greater than 75%, then it is called mud rock. The next question is, which of the following mineral deposit is formed exclusively by surface geological process? And the answer will be bauxite, which is formed by weathering process. Now let's discuss the next question. The next question is, graphic texture is indicative of, and the answer will be eutectic crystallization. Because in graphic texture, one mineral is a host and the other act as an intergrowth, which is possible in eutectic crystallization. Because at eutectic point, both minerals crystallize and hence they produce graphic texture. The next question is, which of the following is not a form of isometric system? And the answer is rhombohedron. If you see the options, octahedron is a form of isometric system, tetrahedron is also a form of isometric system, and trapezohedron is also a form of isometric system. So only rhombohedron is not a part of isometric system. Okay. The next question is, which of the following group of fossils became extinct at the Permo-Triassic boundary? And the answer is trilobites. C. Trilobite became extinct at Permo-Triassic boundary. Graptolites became extinct at Carboniferous era. At Carboniferous, ammonite became extinct at end of Mesozoic, which is approximately at 66 million years ago, and Ediacaran fossil got extinct at the end of Precambrian era, which is approximately at the age of 542 million years. Okay. The next question is, arrange the following granitoid bodies in order of their decreasing age. That means you have to put the older one first, then you have to put the younger ones. The older one among all of these is Singhbum granite, which is of Singhbum supergroup. Then comes Closepet granite, which divides Dharwar into Western Dharwar and Eastern Dharwar craton. Next we have Erinpura granite, which is of Delhi supergroup, and at the last we have Ladakh granitoid. Okay, so the answer will be option C, which is Singhbum granite, Closepet granite, Erinpura granite, and then Ladakh granitoid. Okay. Next question is, which of the following brachiopoid genera is considered as living fossil? And the answer is Lingula. Next we have a figure where we have marked 1, 2, 3 and 4, and we have to identify which one is a mid-oceanic ridge, which one is island arc, what is a continental arc, and which one is a rift zone. Okay, so if you see the situation at 1 and 3, then you can see that a plate is going downward. We all know that oceanic plate, which is a denser plate that goes downward. Okay, so we can say that it is an oceanic plate. Now look at position 2. There we have two oceanic plates and magma rising upward from the ocean, and that's called a mid-oceanic ridge. So 2 will be M. Okay, we have identified the oceanic plate. The plate next to the oceanic plate which overrides the oceanic plate is must be a continental plate, right? So at position 4 you can see there are two continental plates that are rifting apart and magma comes out in between them. So that is a rift zone. Okay, so fourth will be R. Now every time an oceanic plate goes beneath a continental plate, we get a continental arc at the continental side. So at position 3 we will have a continental arc. So we are left with just one option, that is the first option will be highland arc. So we have completed all this and the answer will be option D. Clear? The next question reads, in an undulated topography, a set of uniformly inclined beds show V-shaped outcrop pattern with apex pointing downstream in a valley. It indicate. Now we have two conditions here. One is it is a V-shaped outcrop pattern and the second is it points downward in the valley. Here in this figure you can see all the possible outcrops, and if we match the conditions given in the question paper, then you can clearly see that E will be the situation where V points downstream. Okay, so here the beds are more deep than the outcrop pattern. So here the deep of the bed is more than the slope of the valley. That's why our answer will be option 1. Now this is a very important question because not much of the questions are asked from the Bayes rule, but there is a greater probability this time that a question would must come from Bayes rule. Okay, so please try to go through this diagram. Okay, now the next question is, silica rich viscous magma often produce, and the answer would be simple, dome. Next question, identify the fault in the diagram 1, 2 and 3. See, whenever you encounter such type of problem, then you must consider the relative displacement of two blocks. Here in case 1, the relative displacement is downward, so it will be a normal fault. Similarly, in case 3, the relative displacement is upward. No matter how much do they move, at the end they will move upward. Okay, so that will be a reverse fault. And similarly, in case of strike slip fault, you have two options. It can be a sinistral strike slip and it can be a dextral strike slip. So in this case, look at the diagram carefully. Here, look at the plate which comes towards you. Okay, suppose here in this case the left plate is coming towards you, so this will be a sinistral strike slip fault. But if the right plate would have come towards you, then it would be a dextral strike slip. Okay, next question, a mine excavation made along the strike of 2-meter thick tabular ore bed dipping 30° is called. A mine excavation made along the strike of an ore body is called a drift. Whereas if it is perpendicular to the strike, then it is called a shaft. They are the horizontal structures from the shaft driven to meet the ore body, and ridge is a structure that connects the upper level and the lower level of the ore body. Okay, the next question is, an ore body showing saddle leaf structure is formed by, and the answer is very simple, it is hydrothermal process, because in hydrothermal process only saddle leaf structures are formed. Okay, next, in the given block, select the most suitable site among 1, 2, 3 and 4 for the construction of a tunnel. And at 1 we have a syncline, and at 2 we have a plain bed, and 3 we have a fault, and at 4th we have a dike. So remember one thing, the most suitable site for the formation of any kind of structure is a plain bed, because in an anticline, in a syncline, the water may get deposited there and it could harm the structure on it. And similarly, at a fault, if we construct a tunnel, now because fault is a weak plane, so there is a chance of movement of blocks around the fault. So in that case, our tunnel will be affected. And at fourth, because it is a dike, which is a intrusion of magma, so magma may intrude some more time only. So magma may intrude into it again anytime. So a structure like tunnel, building a structure like tunnel in dike is not suitable. Okay, next question. Match the following metals in group 1 with the ores in group 2. Now you can see all the ores and their formulas here. Skillite is a ore of tungsten. Pyrolusite is a manganese ore. Cassiterite is a tin ore and bornite is a copper ore. Okay, next question. Which of the following mineral is correctly matched with its optical property? And the answer is pyroxene, which is nearly orthogonal cleavage. In pyroxene, the cleavages are at 87 and 93 degree. Next question. The mineral coesite is expected to be stable in which of the metamorphic phases? And the answer is eclovite phases. If you want to know more about metamorphic phases, then the link is in the description. You can see the video. Next question. In the given phase diagram, a sequence of minerals crystallizing from a magma of composition X under equilibrium condition is. Now look at the diagram. Because X is nearer to the anorthite side, so at first we will have only anorthite, which gradually changes to anorthite and diopside at the eutectic point. So the answer will be option C, that anorthite changes to anorthite and diopside. Next question. In the given stereo plot, poles of three bearing planes are plotted as points 1, 2 and 3. Find the correct order of increasing depth of the beds. Just as a hint, remember that if a pole is nearer to the center of the stereo net, then it has a very less depth. And if the pole is very much away from the center, then it has a greater depth. So on this basis, we can calculate the increasing order of depth of beds. The point 1, which is very much close to the center of the stereo net, will have the minimum depth. And next we will have point 2. Next we will have point 3, which has the greatest depth among all of these. Okay. Next question. The size of Kettle Lake depends upon. This is a very direct question and the answer will be simple. The size of Kettle Lake depends upon the size of the buried ice block within the moraine. Okay. Next we have a match the column question, where in group 1 we have sedimentary rocks and in group 2 we have their characteristics. The sandstone must have a grain size of 1/16 to 2 mm. And if a sandstone is feldspar rich, then we will call it arkose. Similarly, limestone is made up of chemical sediments and shale is made up of silt and clay size particles, so its grain size would be less than 1/16 mm. Okay. Next question. Arrange the following formation of Gondwana supergroup in order of decreasing age. Now while dealing with this type of question, please make sure to read the question properly. What it is written increasing or it is written decreasing. Okay. Here we have to arrange them in a decreasing age. That means the older one will come first, then after that the younger ones. Similar to how we read a succession. So the answer will be, the oldest one is Kararbari, next comes Barakkar, next Kulti and Raniganj. Next we have a match the column, where in group 1 we have Lamellibranchia and in group 2 we have their dentition pattern. So Glacimeris has taxodont dentition, Trigonia is schizodont, Leucina is an example of heterodont and Mytilus is an example of disodont. So our answer will be option 1. Okay. Next question. Drainage density of a basin is described at. And the simple answer is, drainage density is the total length of streams of all orders divided by the area of the basin. You can remember it this way. It is the total length divided by total area of the basin. Okay. Next question. A wave is terminated at. And the answer will be mantle core boundary, because the outer core is liquid and S wave cannot pass through any liquid. Next, arrange the elements iron, oxygen, hydrogen, helium, silicon in the decreasing order of their abundance in solar system. And the order will be: the maximum we have hydrogen, then comes helium, then oxygen, silicon and iron. Remember, this trend changes as we look in the abundance of elements in the earth crust. Okay, so make sure to give it a look. Next question. A dolerite dike metamorphosed under amphibolite facies condition is expected to have a mineral assemblage. The question simple is, what is the mineral assemblage of amphibolite facies? And the answer will be hornblende and plagioclase. If you face any problem regarding the mineral assemblage in the facies concept, then make sure to check out the video. Link is in the description. Okay. And with this, we have completed our MCQ questions. Let's discuss on discuss section B questions, that is multiple select questions. The first question is, a pyrite chalcopyrite bearing copper ore has undergone super rich enrichment. Which of the following statement is correct? Now this is a very good image where you can see at which zone which mineral is present. Such as in Gosan we have iron hydroxides like limonite, goethite and iron oxides like hematite. Whereas in leached zone we have carbonates like malachite and azurite. And in oxidized ores we have native minerals and oxides like cuprite, phenorite and silicates like chrysocolla. Okay. And in enriched zone we get the best sulfide ores like chalcocite, covellite, etc. And in the primary zone we get original ores like pyrite, chalcopyrite, bornite, sphalerite, etc. The next question is, the geochemical trends illustrated in the diagram for a suite of cognitive and coval igneous rock indicate. Now look, whenever you analyze any Harker diagram like this, then remember some points. If the concentration of a particular mineral species is decreasing with the increase in SiO2, then you must analyze that it is being crystallized to produce a mineral. Okay, that's why its concentration is losing gradually with time. So here we have the concentration of MgO and CaO which is gradually decreasing. That means they are being used in formation of minerals. So we will get minerals like olivine and clinopyroxene. Now look at the concentration of Al2O3 which is gradually decreasing with increase in silica. That means there is no crystallization of Al2O3. That's why we will get no plagioclase and no alkali feldspar in this particular example. Because in plagioclase and alkali feldspar, Al2O3, that is alumina, is a major constituent. Okay, and without the crystallization of Al2O3 we cannot get plagioclase and alkali feldspar. Next question, which of the following chronostratigraphic units is correctly matched with the corresponding geochronological units? Here we have system matched to period, that is correct, and the series matched to epoch, that is correct. Now here stage should be matched with age, then that would be a correct option, but it is not matched, so it is not correct. Okay. Next question is, which of the following statement related to depositional environment is correct? The first option, herringbone cross stratification indicates glaciofluvial environment, which is wrong because it indicates a tidal environment. Okay. Next, dune is characterized by the presence of finer grains at the top and coarse grain at the bottom. This is also wrong because suppose wind is blowing from one direction and the dune is getting formed. Okay. But it is not sure that the velocity of wind will continuously go on decreasing, okay, or continuously go on increasing. Okay, the velocity of wind can vary, so accordingly the size of the particles that gets deposited in the dune, that may vary drastically. So we cannot say that they follow a particular trend, that is the coarser at the top or the coarser at the bottom. We cannot say like that. Okay, Now the third option is dropstone is of glacial origin. This is correct. And the last option, Bauma sequence indicate turbidite deposit. So option C and option D, these are correct answers. Next question, which of the following fossil genera is invertebrate? And the options are Megalodon, Spondylus, Stegodon and Telemastodon. Now see, Stegodon and Telemastodon, this belongs to an elephant fossil. So these are vertebrates, okay. Megalodon is a shark fossil and Spondylus is a mollusca, that is bivalvia, okay. So both Megalodon and Spondylus, they are invertebrate. Next question, which of the following trilobite have 2 to 4 thoracic segment and they are eyeless? And the answer will be Agnostus and Microdiscus, okay. Next question, which of the following formations are deposited in glacial or fluvial environment? And the correct answer will be Correva formation and Blyny formation. Next question, which of the following statements is or are correct? Rajpura Doriba in Rajasthan is a working lead zinc deposit. Iron ore is mined in Noamundi, Odisha. The largest copper mine in India is located in Malanskand, Madhya Pradesh. The manganese deposit is found in Mansar Formation, Maharashtra. All of these statements are correct. Okay. Next question, which of the following stratigraphic units are correctly matched with their ages and geographical localities? And the correct answers are Ninur Formation, which is of Cretaceous age and it is found in Kaveri Basin, and Jivan Formation, which is of Permian age and it is found in Kashmir Lidar Valley. Okay. Next question, petroleum producing basins of India belongs to? And the answer is they are Cretaceous or Tertiary. With this, we have completed the MSQ part. Now we have left with just only one part, and that is numerical answers. So let's start. On a topo sheet of 1:50,000 scale, the distance between upper and lower traces of a bed is 5 cm. What is the actual distance on ground in kilometers? Okay. Now mark here the distance on ground is asked in kilometers. So we have to convert it in kilometers at last. So see, 1:50,000 means in 1 centimeter on the topo sheet equal to 50,000 centimeter on the ground. Okay. So if the distance on the topo sheet is 5 centimeter, then on the ground the distance will be 5 into 50,000, that is 2.5 kilometers. Okay. So the answer will be 2.5. Here the key is to convert the centimeter into kilometer at the last. So make sure that you read the question properly before answering. Okay. Next question. On a flat topography, the outcrop width of a bed is 30 meter. If the true depth of the bed is 30 degree, the actual thickness of bed in meters is. Now see in this figure, the T is the true thickness and W is the true outcrop width and delta is the angle between. So with simple trigonometry, you can calculate that the true thickness of bed equal to width of outcrop into sine theta. Here theta is 30 degree, so width of outcrop into sine 30, which is 1 by 2. So 30 into 1 by 2, which gives you 15 meter. Okay. So the actual thickness of the bed is 15 meters. The next question, in the given map, the true depth of the bedding plane XY is. Now see, the two contour lines that we have here is of 500 meters and 600 meters. So the difference in the altitude of the bed, you can say the height of the bed is 100 meters. Okay, that is 600 minus 500, that is 100 meters. That is the vertical distance. Okay. Now look at the strike lines. The distance between two strike line is 5 centimeter and at the bottom it is given the 1 centimeter equal to 20 meter. So 5 centimeter will be 20 into 5, that is 100 meters. So the horizontal distance we have here is 100 meter. Now look at the triangle at the right side. Here we have a vertical distance of 100 meter and a horizontal distance of 100 meter. Okay. So the depth of the bedding plane will be 45 degree because tan 45 equal to 1. Okay. The next question. In the given diagram, the percentage of plagioclase in a rock of composition X is. Now see, the vortex at which plagioclase is written, there the percentage of plagioclase is 100%. And the exact opposite line, the line of quartz and alkali feldspar, there the percentage of plagioclase is 0, which is mentioned there. Now from 0, the percentage of plagioclase gradually increases to 20, then 40, 60, 80 and 100. Now you can see where the X is situated at 20% of plagioclase. So here the rock of composition X has a plagioclase has 20% plagioclase in it. Okay. Next question. The birefringence of a uniaxial mineral having refractive index of 1.658 and 1.486 each. Now before answering this question, we must know that what is birefringence. Birefringence is the difference of refractive index of the components within the mineral. So here birefringence will be 1.658 minus 1.486. That will give us 0.172. Okay. Next question. In the given stereo plot, the plunge amount of the fold axis is. Now before answering this question, just look at the diagram here. The blue lines indicate two limbs of a fold, and when two limbs join, they form fold axis. So the line there, so the line shown there is the fold axis. Okay, but here we are interested in the plunge amount of the fold. So the distance of the intersection of two limbs from the periphery of the circle, that is the distance of A to B, that is the plunge amount. The more is the distance of AB, the more is the plunge amount, and the less is the AB distance, the less is the plunge amount. Okay. Now look at the figure here. Here the bedding planes intersect just at the periphery of the circle. So here the plunge amount will be 0. Okay. Next question. A crystal face has the following intercept for the crystallographic axis: 1a1, 1a2 and half a3 and infinite c. The Miller indices of the face is. Now to calculate the Miller indices, we have two steps. First, write the intercept. Here we have the intercepts as 1, 1, 1 by 2 and infinite. Then step 2, take the reciprocal. Then we will get 1, 1. The reciprocal of 1 by 2 is 2 and the reciprocal of infinite is 0. Now they are already in whole number form. So there is no need to convert and our answer is 1120. Next question. The total number of mirror planes in 4 by m, 3 bar, 2 by m is. Now this point belongs to isometric system, because a threefold roto-inversion axis is the characteristics of isometric system. And for isometric system, you use the formula 3, 4, 6. So the steps are simple. Write the formula for isometric system 3, 4 and 6. Under it, write the HM symbol. Here we have 4 by m, 3 bar and 2 by m. Here we can clearly see that we have 3 mirror planes perpendicular to the 4-fold axis and 6 mirror planes perpendicular to the 2-fold axis. So in total we have 9 mirror planes. Okay. To calculate the number of mirrors in any kind of HM symbol, we have a video. If you want to know more about it, you can go through this video. The link is in the description. Next question. A radioactive isotope has 1024 atoms. How many atoms will remain after 4 half-lives? So we have a formula here that the number of isotopes left after n number of half-lives is the total number of atom divided by 2 to the power n. Here we have the total number of atom as 1024 and 2 to the power 4, that is 16. So 1024 divided by 16 gives rise to 64. So the answer is 64. That is, after 4 half-lives we will have 64 atoms left. Next question. Wastewater discharged from a coal mine has H plus concentration of 10 to the power minus 6 moles liter. The pH of the water is. Now see, pH is minus log H plus concentration. Here the H plus concentration is 10 to the power minus 6. That means minus log 10 to the power minus 6. Here minus 6 comes out. So we have minus of minus 6 into log 10. And the answer is 6, because the value of log 10 equal to 1. Okay. Next question. An ore body dipping 30° west on a flat topography at far distance in meters, should a borehole be placed so that it intersects the ore body perpendicularly at a vertical depth of 70 meters? So in this figure you can see we have a ore body BD and a borehole AD which intersects the ore body at 90 degrees, and we have to calculate the distance AB. Now in triangle BCD, if you look, the value of tan 30 is CD by BC. Tan 30 is 1 by root 3, and if you calculate, the value of BC is 70 root 3. Similarly in triangle ACD, if you calculate the value of AC, it will come 70 by root 3. And if you add the value of AC and BC to get AB, then we will have 161.67 as the answer. Next question. Using the phase rule, the maximum number of phases in a 3-component system having 1 degree of freedom is. Now the phase rule is P plus F equal to C plus 2. Remember, we are not using the reduced phase rule here because there is no mention of reduced phase rule or isobaric condition in the question. So we will use the normal phase rule, that is P plus F equal to C plus 2. And according to the question, P plus 1 will equal to 3 plus 2. If you calculate, the value of P will become 4. Okay. Next question. The lithostatic pressure in megapascals at a depth of 10 km in a granitic batholith having density of 2700 kg per meter cube is. To calculate pressure, we have the formula pressure equal to density into acceleration due to gravity into depth, that is P equal to rho gh. So if you put the value of density, acceleration due to gravity and depth from the question, then you can clearly calculate the value of pressure is 264.5 megapascal. Okay. In the next question, in the given phase diagram, the weight percentage of melt at point M for a crystallizing magma of bulk composition X is. So here we have a magma of bulk composition X, and at point M we have to calculate the percentage of melt left. Remember one thing, the unit that connects the magma composition and the solidus line, that is the amount of melt left, and the person which connects X with liquidus line, that gives the percentage of solid materials formed. Okay. So here, in order to calculate the weight percentage of the melt, we will have the amount of melt divided by the amount of melt and the solid. So here we have melt as 3 units, and in total we will get 5. So the weight percentage of melt will be 60%. Okay. Next question. Calculate the average atomic weight of rubidium using the given formula. We have given the isotopes of rubidium 85 and isotopes of rubidium 87 and their abundance and atomic weight. Now the average atomic weight formula is the abundance into atomic weight of isotope 1 plus abundance into atomic weight of isotope 2 whole divided by 100. So all the data are given in the question. So if you put the values there, then you will get the answer as 85.46. Next question. In an oblique slip fault having 30° deep, the net slip is 10 meters at an angle of 45° to the strike of the fault plane, and the deep slip component of the fault is in meters. So in this figure you can see the AE is the net slip and the AB is the deep slip component and CD is the strike slip component. So in basic trigonometric formulas you can get the deep slip component as 10 into sine of the angle, that is sine 45. So 10 by root 2, which will give you a result as 7.14 meters. Next question. A 10 centimeter cube sandstone block has a mass of 20 grams. If the average density of the sand grain is 2.5 gram per centimeter cube, then the porosity of the sandstone is. Now suppose the density of the sandstone is 2.5 gram per cm cube and the volume is 10 centimeter. It is given. Okay. Now suppose the mass in the sandstone there is no pore substance. The mass is volume into density. So the mass of sandstone would be 2.5 into 10, that is 25 kg. But in the question it is mentioned that the mass of sandstone is 20 gram. So the mass of pore spaces is the 25 minus 20, that is 5 gram, which is excess. Okay. Now the porosity is volume of pores divided by total volume of rock, that is equal to 5 divided by 25, which will give you a 20% as your answer. Okay. Next, a mineral has a weight of 4.5 grams in air and 3.2 grams in water. Assuming the density of water to be 1 gram per cm3, the specific gravity of the mineral is. Now the formula of specific gravity is weight in air divided by weight in air minus weight in water. So put the values in the formula and you can calculate the answer. The answer will come out to be 3.46. The next question, the duration of proterozoic eon is. Now in this figure you can see the proterozoic eon starts from 2500 million years and ends in 542 million years. So the duration of proterozoic eon is 2500 minus 542, which comes out to be 1958 million years. Okay. The next and the last question, from the given equation, calculate how many moles of magnetite will be produced by the reaction of 1 mole of hematite, and the reaction is given below. In the reaction you can clearly see that 6 moles of hematite produce 4 moles of magnetite. So for 1 mole of hematite we will get 4 by 6 moles, that is 0.667 moles of magnetite. Okay. That's the end of it, guys. Hope it would be helpful. If you have any queries or if you haven't understand anything, then join with us in Instagram and Telegram, and there we can solve your queries. Also, if you want a video on any particular topic, then you can comment that below. Have a nice day. Thank you.